What's up, coaches? Corey Harris here, and I have a special guest. This is one of my brothers in the Lord, one of my brothers from another mother, Phil Morrison. He is one of the pioneers in this basketball game here in the States when it comes to a lot of things, evangelizing, running camps, clinics, and that's actually what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on the business of basketball, and we're talking about running your own basketball events and how to do so. Phil, like I said, he's huge. He's big time, right? I'm blessed to have him here on this curriculum in the transition. He has done a lot of things in Louisville, Kentucky, where he's from. He has one of the biggest basketball organizations out there, but he's also expanded to the point where now he's working internationally. He's working all around the country, and he's even employed other trainers and given them opportunities. Phil has played overseas, so he has a rich basketball background, both as a player and as a coach, and he's just going to share a lot of his experience with us today. So Phil, appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for jumping on with me. I know you got a lot going on, so I'll try not to use too much of your time now.
No, hey, I'm just a man following the man, the Lord.
Yes,
and
sir.
what
Yes,
an
sir.
intro. And I appreciate that intro.
I practiced for like 30 minutes. I'm playing.
That's a great
No.
intro.
So let's do this. Before we just jump straight into the actual topic, tell me a little bit about what led you to start your basketball services company. Like, how did you arrive at the point where you said, okay, this is a business and I'm going to like try to do this full time or make this my living?
Yeah, man, that's a whole podcast Zoom in itself. But actually, I started after my sophomore year of college. I played at Asbury University. I was actually the garbage man. I was actually the assistant to the garbage man during my summer job. And that summer, I always say God prepares people in different ways. I became an All-American because I was a garbage man. I learned more being a garbage man that summer: grit, work ethic, toughness, gratitude, all these different qualities that helped me mentally, emotionally become the next level of player from working there. And I was grateful for that season, but I said, never again. I'm not doing that one again. So I said, next summer, I actually became an All-American that year at my college. That was my junior year. And I had some professors come up to me at the college and say, would you train my son? I watch you do your ball handling. I watch you practicing all the time in the morning in the gym by yourself. And I was like, sure. And I didn't even know how to price myself or charge myself. So I charged about the same as I was making per hour as a garbage man. You know what I mean? Like $10 an hour. And I thought, man, if I could just be in the gym, then, and
I ain't gotta be no garbage man.
I'll do. And that was almost 11, 12 years ago, man. So after I graduated college, and I told you I decided to go overseas, that's when I really got into training. And I kept going back and forth because I'm playing, and then I come back home and start training and gain this momentum and then drop it all, go back overseas. And it wasn't until I was 29, after about 4 years going back and forth, that it really took off, and I came back home with the intention of doing this full time. Had a lot of pressure from different people in my family to, go the typical route of be a teacher or a fireman,
Of course.
company. And I told my wife, give me 3 months, and I can prove that I can make this work. And man, all I need is about 2. And because I had no plan B, I went all in on it with everything, but I knew I could make it work. I just, there was no blueprint on how making it work. That's why I appreciate so much about what you're doing and what I'm trying to do as well, following your lead. And that's really how I got started, right around age 29, 30. Within 6 months of my last season overseas, I built it up to where it was full time, and I slowly started bringing on other guys.
Amazing, bro. Amazing. There's so much I could unpack there. Like you said, that's a podcast within itself.
It is. It really is, man. I left out a lot, but yeah.
So let's fast forward then a little bit. So, all right, you get to the point where you gave yourself a deadline. I hope that all the coaches and people watching this hear and pick up these small little like gems you're dropping. Like you said, give me 3 months, right? And then it only took you 2. You said you went all in. You didn't have a plan B. But let's fast forward to the point where you actually are breaking ground and you're starting your first basketball event or you're about to run your first camp, what were some things, some obstacles or hurdles that you experienced then that maybe right now, if you like had the wisdom, the knowledge and understanding, you would kind of go back and handle in a different way?
Man, Corey, let's write a book together, man. That's another podcast. All right, so I'm gonna tell you my ultimate failure was my first camp. My ultimate failure. I trusted somebody, and my gut instinct says, "Do not trust this person." But I trusted them because they came to me. They leveraged the opportunity of like when you start out, you're just excited that anybody wants to talk to you or train with you. You'll do anything. You don't learn the power of no early on. You learn that usually years later on. And I said yes to everything. And this guy he could sell salt to a slug and ice to an Eskimo. He just was a good talker. I'm gonna get this big gym and we're gonna have hundreds of kids. So I left all the marketing into his hands. He said, just have all your trainers ready to go. So I just got a bunch of guys that I've been training, working with me. We marketed it. It was a big deal. I built it up as a big thing. Cause again, I'm telling my family, my wife, everybody out. Yeah, we're going to right out the gate. We're going to sell this camp out. It's going to be like 100 kids. Man, guess how many people showed up?
Zero.
Nobody. I was like, how's that possible in Louisville, the basketball market?
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
And I was thankful because I was like, man, if 2 kids would have showed up, I would have had to run that whole camp, and it turned into like 6 of us working out together. And what I realized early on was how important it was to acquire skills. And I think a lot of us think we can escape the 9 to 5 because we love basketball, we played it, or we love to teach it. But that is just one skill. Like that's the easy part. The fact I tell my guys all the time, when you show up to the gym and it's filled up, the hard part was the fact that I filled that up day after day, week after week. That's the skill set. That's the thing that's mainly overlooked, whether you're in sports ministry or basketball training or coaching or running a big event. That first big failure showed me that I needed to get better on the business side, the marketing side. I just needed to improve my skill set like when I was a player, from a business standpoint. And one of the big things that, we recently did Committed to the Craft, and I just ran Committed to the Gospel. So now I'm moving into running conferences and big events and leagues and things like that. But what I learned early on was how important it was to be consistent. When you're starting out. So if I'm talking to somebody that's starting out, I would say the way to build a clientele is consistency, because the basketball world, it's so fickle. It comes in seasons, like right now we're in the fall, but winter's totally different in season. Spring booms because of AAU. Summer's big because of traditionally that's training season. And then fall kind of winds down with school starting, moving into tryouts. So each season you have to learn how to shift months ahead, your business plan, your marketing, what events you're going to run. Because if you want to do what I do, which is in the private sector full time, man, it's a hard life. You work nights, you work weekends, and you work holidays. You're the opposite of everyone else's schedule. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that plays into relationships, into marriage, into everything. So it's understanding like those types of things, getting better at that skill set.
No, I think it was powerful when you said that sometimes we view starting a business or being entrepreneurs within the basketball industry is an escape, right, from the 9 to 5, when really anytime you start a business venture, you are actually creating just a new job for yourself, or new jobs, plural, right? Because now you're the accountant, the treasurer, the CEO, the janitor, the trainer, like you now wear all the hats that whatever company you used to work for had different people hired to do those things separately. And I love the fact that you talked about developing those skills, right? Maybe we would call those like soft skills, I'm not sure, but just the things that fit around training, because it's not just coming to the gym, teaching, getting out there sweating. Like you actually have to be able to run a full-fledged business, marketing, all of those things. So no, that's a dope story. My first camp went the exact same. I trusted someone who in my gut, I knew like, man, this dude is a snake. He's slimy. I don't even see myself standing next to him in a picture, let alone working with him every day. And we were in Greenville, South Carolina. This was for Gannon when I was running events for him at the time. And the dude stole the entire database of kids that we were targeting, had a separate event that he was creating on the side. So me and all these coaches who I have on a staff with me, we show up just like your guys, 0 kids. And so for 2 hours, we just worked out. And then like one girl came in like 30 minutes late or something, and we had to all just like run her through stations. It was a little deflating, but at the same time, it was like, okay, like you said, I got to get better at all the other stuff, right? Because I'm thinking about like how the camp's going to go from 9 to whatever time we stop. I never really put a whole lot of thought into, following up with people, logistics, making sure that everything else that supports this event is straight. So that's powerful. And I hope the coaches who are listening to this are picking that up. Tell me, how do you go about finding locations or securing locations? Because I know as relationships, it's not just picking up the phone or just walking into a brick and mortar building and saying, hey, I'm Phil Morrison. This is the name of my company. We want to use your gym. Like, when do you start that process? How do you go about that? Like, give us a little bit of information on that.
Okay, another big key that trainers will learn is if you want to be a successful basketball trainer, coach, and player development, you're in the real estate business. That's what you have to understand. I learned that early on. The more gyms and the more relationships and partnerships I had, the more potential I had, to survive and to thrive. So before COVID changed everything, honestly, it exposed so many. I pivoted my entire business, my whole model after COVID. But before that, at one point at my peak, I had keys to 8 gyms. And so it was all about, when I first started was I went the route of, with Hoops for Christ, trying to provide value and help the mission of local churches with gyms. That's how I originally started. When I came home from overseas, I was, training driveways, training this, doing that, but I did everything for free. I didn't ask for anything. I just did everything for free, tried to earn a good reputation because your reputation precedes you, especially locally.
That's right.
If you're burning bridges, like, it will catch up to you. And if you're out there really making an impact and providing value to people, those seeds will turn into fruit. I've seen that both ways and with different people. And so that's what I did. I went to a church. I found out what their mission was, and I didn't try to pitch what I was doing. I tried to come alongside what they were doing and add value to it in a different way.
Okay.
Sometimes that was speaking to a group. Sometimes that was running a basketball camp, a free camp for the church, or for different schools. And in doing that, I knew if I knocked it out of the park and I showed up and I did what I knew I could do, that I would gain that trust. And honestly, Corey, it happened a lot of times organically. They would ask then, how can I help you? I love what you do. How can I help you? I'm like, well, man, if you had a free day, I would appreciate it if I could get in here for a few hours. If you're doing that all over the city, now again, my life's in a bag. I'm going from gym to gym every day.
Right.
That's really how I got started. I looked at it as I didn't want to be a renter. I wanted to be a partner. There's a difference between an acquaintance and a friend. And I wanted to be considered a friend. And with that, I knew I needed to give a lot more than I was asking from the jump. And, the truth is nobody really cares about your vision. They don't care about your dream, and they don't stay up late at night figuring out how they can help make your dream come true.
Right.
And if you can understand that and respect that, in ministry, we talk about service. In the marketplace and business, we talk about providing value, but they're really the same thing. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. And then when everything got shut down in 2020, I pivoted more towards working towards having my own facility or creating a lease where I had everything in one spot and can shift my business to a membership program where I could have that guaranteed residual income. That's a whole other conversation, but that's really how I got in there, was providing value and creating partnerships with as many people as possible.
No, I love that. Love that. There's so many entrepreneurs or new business owners in this game that I feel like don't understand that key part. And so they always stay at the starting line. They can never get too much momentum or too far because they never learn that you have to give way more than you're expecting back. But it's a boomerang, right? You in turn you get more clients. People are willing to pay whatever you ask. You know, they're a lot more understanding of your needs as a business because they feel like you always exceed their expectations, right? So, no, I love that. Tell me a little bit about how you marketed for set events in the past versus how you've learned to market at this point that you're at, being a seasoned, business owner and entrepreneur within basketball.
All right, I'm about to give away some heat right here.
All right, all
It
right,
took
all
me
right.
years to learn. It took me
My
so much
bad. I want you
time
to
to
give away the
learn.
secret sauce, man.
I also had to become a father to understand this. God
Okay.
had to give me the eyes of a parent to see this. So what I think with basketball, how I think you can be successful is you always start with universal truths. If you start with a universal truth, you can never go wrong. A universal truth doesn't matter if you're teaching basketball in the Philippines, in India, or in Atlanta or Louisville. Every parent wants their child to have confidence. Everywhere you go in the world, they're going to ask for that exact. Can you help my child with confidence? Okay, and drills don't do that.
Right.
So, can you? I want to see my child happy. I want to see my child motivated. I want to know that my money is well spent because they're being taught. They're not being babysit, they're being taught. These are universal truths. So what you do is you play with those universal truths and keywords. That's how you market, building confidence. Some of my clinics are called, the shooting and building confidence clinic. Maybe it sounds corny to people, but it plays into subconscious because every parent that comes to me, they all say the same thing. That's the thing. That's a unique position that I'm in and I'm more of a bartender, a barber, or a therapist in most situations. I'm dealing with the parent-child dynamic, and the universal truth is they want to see them improve. The key to happiness is progress. They want to see some sort of progress, both in attitude, motivation, and skill. They want to see them build confidence. So when I market, I am playing into those keywords.
Okay.
Teaching, education, building skill, building confidence, life skills, leadership, mentorship.
Mhm.
So that's really how I market because the basketball aspect, most parents, the truth is, this may be a little blunt, but most of them are too ignorant about the game to know the difference between good training and bad training, between a good
Correct.
teacher and a
Correct. I agree.
scam artist. I mean, between a guy that there's no way you should send your child to this guy. Just check his social media out. This guy is going ham. I mean, deranged, or this guy is a man of God. They can't tell the difference. It's what I've learned.
Right.
So the key is to play into those keywords when you market. Market universal truths. Don't market like what my strength is. But and don't market just the skill, shooting and dribbling. I get it, but man, you're so vanilla, you're so gray. There's nothing that stands out. People are special because they're special. They're different than everyone else. They take risk in different ways. So for me, it took me years to figure that out. But I learned that through conversations. Lots of conversations with parents and kids and being a part of their life, which required me to get off the court in certain ways and be more relational and intentional in that.
Major key. Like I said, man, I had a feeling you were about to give away the secret sauce, the way you rubbed your head and looked down like that.
Yeah.
Don't worry, man.
I mean,
don't worry.
I don't know if anybody will take that, but it's the truth, man.
They better. But you know what?
It changed everything I did. And let me tell this story too, man.
Sure.
I got to tell this story.
Please.
So this is before I had my son.
Okay.
I had a girl and a father that drove about an hour, 15 hour and 30 minutes every week for years, every week to me. And this girl, bless her heart, she couldn't walk and chew gum. She wasn't talented, wasn't coordinated. And dude, you know, I'm young and I'm gonna be the next Gannon Baker. I'm gonna be the next Phil Handy. I'm gonna be the best trainer in the world, you know. And I didn't see the big picture of this. And this was a lesson from God. And every time we worked, man, I felt like we made some progress. And then next week she come back and forgot everything.
Yeah.
Like we have to work 45 minutes just to get back to it. This was every single week. And I'm so frustrated. Like, how am I supposed to be training all these NBA players and I can't even get this little girl better? You know what I mean? It was a
Right.
thing. And her dad would drop her off and leave. He never stayed in the gym. So he came back and one day he completely shifted my whole mindset about player development. He came back in. I'm like, hey, how you doing, sir? Yeah, we worked on this. She needs to do a little better holding her follow through. Is she working at home? I didn't think so. I didn't think she was working at home. She could work at home. And, you know, her left hand layup, you know, if she just answered the phone and she followed, we can get all these things. And he said, Phil, stop. He said, man, listen, I know you're a great trainer, dude. And I know you work hard with her. But he's like, dude, my daughter's not any good. And I'm like, he's like, do you know why I bring her to you every single week? I'm like, why is that? He says, because when she gets into the car, she smiles and she wants to come back. And the most important thing to me is to see my daughter smile for the little time. And I know she's not going to be a basketball player, but I want her to be around good people. And that's why I bring her every week, just because she's happy. And I just want her to be happy. And I mean, knock me back because I'm thinking about all the wrong things. Man, I didn't see the big picture of like why God put me in this girl's life and in this father's life. You know what I'm saying? And it was basketball was just the tool to make an impact, something so much bigger. And then when I had, you know, I got 2 boys now, but when I had my first son, I got it. I'm like, man, there's only so much you can do as a parent. You just pray that God brings good people around your child when you're not there. And if you can in some kind of way influence that, then that's what matters. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, every parent, no matter how toxic or dysfunctional or living through their child they can be and use sports, they love their child more than they love the player.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And that one instance, I have many other ones, but that one stands out because that was the first, that was within like a couple years, first 2 years of me training, where I was so obsessed with development and getting them better as a player that I think I was overlooking the macro picture of why God put me in that person's life. And I view everyone as if they're in my gym or in front of me, God brought that person to me. You know, they're in my care. I'm not worried about why they training with this trainer or that. That's not my concern. My concern is who does God have in front of me? You know, I've heard you say once, Corey, if my feet are here, then my mind and my heart, I'm present. And so I try to be very intentional about that.
Sheesh, Phil. Sheesh, bro. That was powerful. I'm glad you shared that. That knocked me back.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
I don't even know what your question was, but I feel like I needed to tell that story because it gave me the big picture. And I think we get so lost in the next drill, how good of a teacher we are, or comparing ourselves to other people on social media, follower count, your ability to be a good speaker or communicator. And those are all, I mean, dude, so important, so important. They're different skill sets. But, you know, man, if I died tonight, man, what a shame it would be if somebody came to my funeral and said, man, he could dribble. You remember how good he dribbled 2 balls? You know what I mean? Wouldn't that be terrible? You remember that guy that him and Corey trained, that NBA player? Man, what a life. You know, like, it's so, but that's really what we live for, to be honest with you. That's how we live. We have that perspective. If I could just train this guy or get this opportunity, we don't see the big impact, the eternal impact of the value of my life and to impact another person's life, you know, in the big scheme of things.
That's right. I think to summarize everything that you're just driving home is like, don't be so short-sighted, right? like you said, big picture, long game, macro, understand what we're really doing this for.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. That's huge. I'm gonna try to circulate it back. I'm gonna do my best. But so when do you, on average, when do you start marketing for these events? So if you got something coming up in Christmas, December time frame of the year, are you starting 3 months before, the year before? Like, how do you go about marketing and the time frame to market?
In general, I'm about 3 months out because I go seasonally. So, fall, winter, spring, summer. So, as I start closing down what I got going in the fall, halfway through, then I'm really promoting out for my winter. What's really unique about what I've done is I've collected so much data, so many phone numbers and cell phones over the years that my events kind of sell themselves at that point. That's
Got you.
kind of another
Got you.
cheat code is, my email list is around like 5,000 now. That's all local. And obviously with the social media stuff, I have quite a bit of understanding of branding and how much that goes into play of if I have an event come up, I know I can sell specific things out just because I'm pulling from people that were already satisfied. So then it's about retention. And, the compounding effect is the word of mouth that people bring people. So in a sense, that's, if you have the people that are happy selling to other people, it's impossible to lose at that point because now they turn into your sales pitch. You know what I mean? So now you don't have to always turn and burn, always,
Right.
you turn your everything you do into a sales pitch because people sense that as opposed to like providing value and like, man, that's unique. I need to get my kid there. And people watch, dude. They don't like and comment. They watch. Both people that support you and don't support you. They all watch. I learned that. So it's a matter of, having a plan a few months out of what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to do a camp in general, I would say you would probably want to get that stuff out about 6 weeks ahead.
Okay.
When I did the conference, it's months, I'm thinking 3 to 6 months ahead
Okay.
with something like a conference. But I do year-round leagues and I retain a ton of that league. I know for sure 75% is going to fill up from retention. And then it might be needing to get a few other people and people that come in late. So I pretty much sell out every league for the last 4 years, honestly, just because I'm able to retain so much.
That's amazing. That deserves applause, salute, everything right there. Just the fact of you're running a league, but the fact that you just said 75% of that league is returners, right? That means that obviously your value add to the individual consumer exceeds what they expect every year because
Yeah.
you can't get somebody to come back if they're not pleased, right? Unless there's just a shortage of alternatives in that area. And I'm sure there isn't. This is basketball capital USA, right?
Yeah,
So
it's also the retention, but man, the power of scarcity, limited spots. When you sell out, it's like promote it. You sold that thing out, because I've had multiple people say, yeah, I registered early. Hey, when you going to get the registration out? Because, I know you sell out quick.
wow.
So I was like, okay, now I've in the psyche of like, there's scarcity, there's value.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Yeah.
with my youth leagues, I probably charge double what anyone else charges. One is I don't have parent coaches. That's a different conversation. I don't do
Right.
parent coaches. So you're getting quality stuff where a parent can experience it. Like bring the Starbucks in, sit back, get the camera out.
Yeah. Enjoy your son or your
Not get
daughter.
baited in to come over here and coach these. I don't do any of that. So that's another aspect of it.
No, I love that. I love that. And you touched on what I'm about to ask next, but like, how do you set those price points? Because I know for you as a businessman, you have to get your ROI. You got to get your return on investment. You're scaling, you're thinking numbers, you're trying to, of course, set a limit so that there is a law of scarcity, right? But even with that limit, it has to make mathematical sense where if it is sold out, this is how much we're getting or turning profit. It's not we're just breaking even or we're in the red, right? So how do you get to the point for your atmosphere, for your demographic, where, okay, this makes sense for the consumer, it's affordable for them, but at the same time, it's profitable for me? Like, I feel like that's a balancing act in every single state, city, town, gym location. Like, even if I go 10 miles in one direction here in Atlanta, I would have to charge significantly less. And I actually did when I used to train clients in Cobb County versus when I'm training in Alpharetta.
Yeah.
So, how do you find that middle ground for your price points?
Well, since I'm on with you and provide, I will give you as much detail and numbers as you want, but I can start with like the private training versus the clinics versus the leagues. And I told you, I'm doing memberships now. So my whole business plan is wrapped up into getting as many people into a membership. So I know I have them locked in, and I know I can budget out and know I've got a projected amount. Not just come in, almost all trainers, I would say well over 90% live weekend to weekend. I know how
Right.
much I'm going to make this weekend. Whereas now I know I can project months out because I got them locked into a membership. And that changed the whole model. When it was just me, I'm thinking if I can get this many clients to train with me. Whereas now, in some months, without collecting Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, I have it all coming in to an account all together, where we can bring in over 20,000 a month. And it's, residual depending on what's going on. I know 15,000 is coming in this month, 22,000 is coming in the next month, just depending on if we got league registrations coming in versus, memberships. So I don't know how you have any way you want me to dive into that?
No, for sure. Like, that is that was gold within itself. As far as like your camps, your clinics,
Okay.
right? Your events, even like your league,
Okay.
where maybe it's not a full
So
membership.
for people that want to train, a lot of people still do the one-on-one membership or one-on-one training sessions. If I could go back, I would advise not doing that. But if you are doing that, because you can't scale that at all, I would look at not just the basketball trainers around you. I would look at the other sports. That's the mistake I made. I was charging
Mm,
40 an hour at one point, and I was training a kid whose dad paid his baseball trainer 100 an hour. And
gotcha.
he told me that, and it showed me, and then another kid whose football quarterback coach was like 125 or so. I was like, man, uh I just had no idea of the market, what I could charge and couldn't charge. So that's my advice for the one-on-ones. Don't do individual sessions, go immediately into packages.
Yep.
I've done 4, 8, 12, I've done 5 and 10. Now I've moved into monthly memberships, but get the commitment. It's just not worth it. It's not worth chasing. Get
That's
the
right.
commitment as soon as possible. As far as the clinics go, I've always been between, like, seriously, like 20 and 30 bucks. They're very simplistic. What I did was get away from a one-time clinic unless it was a holiday clinic. And I've tried to create academies. So when they commit to it, it's a 4 to 6 week program. I get all the money. I put a shirt on them, so it's free marketing. And I can get a group that I can really pour into over a period of 4 to 6 weeks. We just finished one of those. I had a high school academy. We just closed that out yesterday, to get them ready for tryouts this weekend. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So I went 4 straight weeks leading up to their tryouts while they were going through conditioning and stuff like that. So that's my advice on, if you're doing clinics, you're doing a one-time thing, understanding your market and how you charge, you know what I mean? But I always try to have it to where it complements the private training, because the private training is what I'm trying to get them into. That's more premium, higher price. So generally I'm going to be down around maybe 50, no higher than 65% of what that price is, right? So if it's a 60 private, maybe a 30 is going to be the clinic, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
our leagues have always fluctuated between 250 and 300. And that would
For
be
the entirety of that season.
for the entirety of it. Yeah. And it's a 1-day league, so super efficient. What I found is if you split it up into multiple days, one, that's your time. Two is by week 3 or 4, they're just going to miss and fall off anyway. Now you ain't got enough kids. So what I do is I do everything in an hour and a half to 2-hour block. They come in, they train a little bit. I do a confidence workshop or a devotional. We teach one concept because they're actually there to play. They're not there to train. They want to play. So I teach one team concept. Today we're working on DHOs. Today we're working on closeouts. We're working on UCLA cut. So I'm teaching them a team concept in front of the parents. Very important. In front of the parents, they see what we're doing. Then we break up, work on that for 15 minutes. 2 teams play. The other teams go to another court to practice or do speed, agility, ball handling. Then we switch. And that all gets done in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and they're out. The next group comes in, and I'll run 2 to 3 divisions and sell those out at 250 to 300 per kid. So you're talking gross would be like 20 to 30,000 I'm bringing in per league times 4 leagues a year. You know what I mean? So, and those are just upsells because now they want the training because the kids that aren't doing it.
Right.
You know, but it's built around building confidence. You know, I answer all the problems that I get from AAU. I listen to the problem and I become the solution. And then I scale. Listen to the problem, become the solution, scale. That's how you continue to grow, if you can figure that out.
That last thing you said, that's a major key in all of business, I feel. In any area where you see a amazing product, an amazing service that we all feel like we can't live without, it at one point started with a problem.
Absolutely.
You know, like even the ability that we have right now to talk via Zoom, whether we're using phones, laptops, just this interconnectivity at one point in time was a problem because it took, 6 to 8 weeks for a letter to get from you to your mom, or to, if a guy needed to talk to his wife, he's at war, somebody has to hand deliver her a letter. You know what I mean? So you listening and viewing the issues within AAU, within these different, areas of basketball.
And you could, let me add this in too. So this is immediately how someone could separate themselves right now. Go read the book, The Pursuit of Perfect.
Okay.
The Pursuit of Perfect by Tal Ben-Shahar. He was a professor who had the most popular class in Harvard history. And it all comes back to youth sports too, as well, or coaching. It was the science of happiness, the science of perfectionism. What you will find is every child that you're working on in one end of the spectrum have some sort of perfectionism. They're hard on themselves, they beat themselves up, or they're passive, they're introverted, they're a little bit shy, they're not aggressive. And the parent comes from both sides. Can you build my child's confidence? Can you make them more aggressive? Can you get them to stop beating themselves up? If you can do that, you completely separate. You're playing a different game at that point.
That's right.
You're playing a totally different game at that point. And you know this too, Corey, from youth all the way up to where you're at now, working with high level players. That is the gift of coaching. If you can connect on that level, on that human, spiritual, emotional level, and deal with that, you're not getting that in a 45-minute player development workout. No drill is going to do that for you.
Nope.
If you can have those moments where you're speaking into people's lives, or you're teaching that, you're helping them deal with those issues, those emotional issues, as a child, tangible things, you're playing a whole different game, and you're not going to lose them. Those players are going to keep coming back. And if they leave for a little while, they'll come back around.
They'll come right back. That's right.
They'll come back around, and other people will hear about it. And if you get really gifted and you can start actually posting that and spreading that knowledge into a ripple effect through social media, I mean, that's when you're playing you're playing a different game than everyone else at that point.
No, that's right. That's big time. That's big time. That is what this is about. Because like you said, the drills and skills are one thing, but how many times have all of us as former players and then as coaches working with players, have we got into real competition, live play? We're at war, we're on the court, and you just feel like it's not translating, or you know what you should be doing, but the follow through and the, like you said, the aggressiveness and the confidence to even step out and try what you've been working on, it's just not there. And like, you're 100% correct. When you can get kids to cross that line to where they're actually taking risks, they actually start seeing themselves the way you see them as a coach, because you see their potential, your business does go to another level, and you can charge more because that's all people want. So they'll pay whatever, they'll cut off a subscription with Netflix to get their kid more confident. So I completely agree. Speak to the aspect of your staff, because you said multiple times we don't allow, dads or parents to come in and coach in our, leagues or within our events. And I know within your own personal business with Hoops for Christ, you have a staff, right? And you've also explained to me how you empower them. What goes into staffing for your camps, for your events, and for your own personal business? How do you select?
Yeah, and you got to meet a lot of those guys at the Committed to the Craft conference. Yeah, I'm big on like vibration, man. I'm big on like we have to be like-minded. And I'm not saying everyone has to be, sold out to the Lord like me. What I'm trying to do is identify gifts. That's
Okay.
what I'm trying to do, is again identify gifts and get out of the way. I don't micromanage. If someone is gifted at something, my job is to position them to use their strength. And a lot of people ask me about how do you staff, and there's actually been a lot of pretty well-known trainers that we've talked privately, and they've asked, the issue of trust, and I want them to be up to this level, and I want them to, and it's hard for me to give advice because these guys are like my brothers, man. We go through life together. I was the best man in multiple of their weddings. We've gone into prisons together. We played prison basketball together. I've been there when their child was born. So it's not even necessarily about that. And then I've helped them position themselves to leave me. That's another big key, is I've helped everyone get their own brand, their own LLC in place so that they can be successful outside of what they do with me.
Wow.
So that if they're ready to leave, I'm like, we can leave on good terms. And like, I'm not holding you back, because in a lot of, honestly, amongst all our guys, they're all very gifted and they are doing their own thing. But as far as like, in a lot of ways, I kind of am the face of what we do, just because maybe I have a little more of the presence, or I'm a little more out front. But I didn't want it to be where there was a thing where they felt like they were building my kingdom, or,
Right.
So I've been very intentional about going out of my way. Like when I get off from here, I'm going to spend a day with one of my trainers. He's driving in from out of town. He handles our academy about an hour and a half from here. We're just going to spend a day together, and I'm just going to help him get ideas on how to grow his academy where he's at. And, all that money, I actually forfeited my cut just so he can keep it and just keep building it. And he's good. He's taking care of his family, his kids,
That's
what I
powerful.
mean? So, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's just how I really view that. As one, as I identify a gift. I've had guys who didn't work out.
Yeah.
They just didn't have it for some reason or other. But if I found a guy that I feel like has a specific gift and there's something special about them, I'll invite him in and try him out in maybe a camp or a clinic.
Yeah.
And if he really works out well, I'll position him to do his thing with private training and bringing him in, because we're doing it year round every week through our membership program. And that's really how I do it, is try to build that relationship with them, figure out what their goals are, if it's a good fit. And if it is a good fit, then my objective is to be someone in their life they can count on, and they know, like, I have their best interests, meaning I'm not holding you back. I'm not using you to make me more money. I'm positioning you to leave me. Whenever you're ready, you can leave me, so that's really how I view about building a staff.
No, I love that. I love that. And I think it's important that everyone understand you have to have your own non-negotiables and your own standard in place as a person before you can start trying to lead other men, like especially when it's just men. Like, you know how it is, like you said earlier, it's ego, it's I want what's for me. I want to, have the opportunity to be up front. Like, as men of God made us all to lead in one aspect or another. It doesn't mean we're supposed to be in control of one another, but we all are called to something. We have a purpose, right? And I think the fact that you know what is valuable to you, what you stand for, allows you to have certain principles in place when it comes time for you to like branch out, look for someone else, add someone to the fold. And I think too many of us, we don't even know our own core values. Like, we couldn't write them out. If someone said, what are 4 or 5 things like non-negotiable? You believe in this, you stand for that. You'll lose or win based on these 4 things, but you're not going to like argue or debate with anybody about these, right? If you die today, someone else could say he stood for this, and this, because even when they watch you, they see the same things, right? And then the fact that you also empower these men to stand on their own, it's just like when you see guys like the mob back in the day, right? Like, you see them take someone who just got out of prison, he's got a rap sheet, they give him a job.
Yeah.
That turns out to be the best worker. He doesn't have a college degree. He didn't go to Harvard, Yale, whatever. He doesn't come from the nice side of the train tracks. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but it's the same principle of, if you give the guy something that he feels like he couldn't go and just get on his own, that in turn within a person creates a loyalty and a connection because you saw something in them. And it's not about like what you can do for me. It's, hey, whether you win with me or without me, I want to see you win.
Right.
So no, that's big time. Phil, I want to give you the opportunity to let people know how to follow you, how they can interact with you, obviously support what you're doing, anything that you have coming up that, they can even just come in and just view or learn, like when's the next Committed to the Craft event, all the good things that you got going on.
Yeah, I would say one is I'm in the midst right now of launching a new podcast series, the Basketball Missionary Podcast. I want to definitely get you on there as one of the guests at some point.
Let's do it.
That's one, but that's kind of how you can follow me on social media, whether it be Instagram or TikTok, is at Basketball Missionary. And so yeah, those are the main things. I'm looking to run 2 conferences a year. It's looking like Committed to the Craft. Who, Corey, you were one of our speakers last year, or excuse me, this year, with Phil Handy, Gannon Baker, Rob Fodor. I'm in the middle of trying to get those details together. We're looking to move that to San Diego in June of 2023. So that's one. And then the Committed to the Gospel. Oh, I gotta show this logo, man. I'm so proud of this logo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sports Ministry Conference. We just had that last month, and I'm looking to run that again sometime next year. Not quite sure on the dates or anything on that, but yeah, that'd be about it. And our organization is called Hoops for Christ.
Dope. Well, coaches, I hope that you got something from this chapter. We're in the module of the business of basketball. My man Phil was so kind enough to break down all things running camps, events. Man, he gave y'all some stuff he wasn't even supposed to share with y'all, just infrastructure of his business, how he goes about, bringing people on, creating pricing structures, all of that. I want to continue providing this type of content. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. Hopefully we can get Phil on for some more content here within the basketball, business of basketball in the transition. Phil, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time, and this has been dope.
It was an honor. Glad to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Y'all stay tuned. We're coming back with more.